Lean in close, for I'm about to reveal the greatest deception you've ever known, the story you tell yourself about who you are. It's woven so deeply into your mind that its threads guide every choice you make. Yet that very myth, crafted by fear and doubt, has become your puppeteer. Today, we shatter the illusion and reclaim the script of your destiny. You are living a lie. But this lie is not one of deception by others. It is older than civilization, deeper than the roots of language. It is the myth you refuse to see. And because you will not see it, it sees you, it walks beside you, shadows your thoughts, directs your choices, whispers to you through the hollow space between who you are and who you were called to become. In every culture, from the steppes of Mongolia to the deserts of Egypt, from the Nordic sagas to the Aboriginal Dreamtime, there exists a tale, a young soul who lives in comfort or confusion, unaware that their life is not their own. This soul is you. This soul is every one of us. And then something shatters. A calling, a rupture, a strange beast in the forest, a voice in a dream, a death, a loss, a longing too loud to ignore. The call to adventure is not always thunder and lightning. Sometimes it is a whisper in the silence. And yet, the lie begins to unravel the moment you answer. You see, the myth is not false. It is living truth. But to mistake the literal for the symbolic is to miss the key that opens the threshold. The myth says you are the hero, but not because you are powerful, because you are called. And every calling is an initiation. Every initiation is a death. When the hero refuses the call, it is not cowardice, but grief over the loss of the familiar lie, over the comfort of numbness. The soul does not fear monsters, it fears transformation. Because to cross the threshold is to leave behind the mask. In ancient Sumer, Inanna descended into the underworld, shedding her robes. Heyeva's her name. In the Gospel of Luke, Christ wandered into the wilderness for 40 days. In the Upanishads, the seer journeys inward, where gods and demons battle in the cave of the heart. The same myth, clothed in different tongues. There is always a guardian of the threshold. Sometimes a dragon, sometimes a cruel parent, sometimes your own doubt. It stands not to block you, but to test you. Are you ready to die to who you were? If you are, then the path opens, but not with fanfare. With darkness, the belly of the whale. They call it Jonah knew it. So did Psyche, when she descended into the realm of Hades. This is not metaphor. This is the language of the soul. It speaks in images because the soul remembers what the mind forgets. In the darkness, you meet the shadow, yours, the discarded parts, the shame, the rage, the unlived life. And yet, in the oldest myths, it is in the cave that the treasure lies. In the abyss that the grail is hidden. When Heracles descended to retrieve Cerberus, he did not slay the beast. He embraced it. To integrate the shadow is not to destroy it, but to see it, hold it, and claim it as your own. This is the true power of the hero. Not victory, but wholeness. You emerge changed, not yet triumphant, but initiated. And so the allies appear, the mentor, the magical helper, the elixir. These are not just characters in a tale. They are symbols of what awakens within you when you endure the fire. The sword of courage, the cloak of insight, the water of compassion. But the road winds, again, there is an ordeal yet, a confrontation. The God with 1,000 faces may come as storm, as betrayal, as temptation. It does not matter what form it takes. The test is this. Will you remember who you are now that you no longer are who you were, asterisk? This is the death and resurrection. Osiris torn and reassembled. Dionysus dismembered and reborn. Christ crucified and risen. The same song played on different strings. Because it is not their story, it is yours. And when you pass through it, you return, but not as the same person. The journey has transformed you, and the treasure you bring back is not gold, not fame, not glory. It is the boon of truth, the elixir of awakening. You bring it back, not to keep, but to give. For the hero returns not to rule, but to heal. The kingdom is barren, because the hero has not yet come home, and now you understand the lie. The lie is the belief that the story is not about you, but you are in the myth. You are the myth, and the only way out is through the forest, past the dragon, into the cave, where your shadow waits to become your strength, where your fear becomes your fire, where the death you feared becomes the life you never dared to imagine. This is the truth. The myth has always whispered, wake up. The journey has already begun, and so the journey deepens. The lie you once lived begins to rot at the edges, falling away, not all at once, but in echoes and fragments. And in its place rises not clarity, but mystery. For the soul does not trade lies for facts. It trades illusion for vision. The trials you face now are not external monsters, but inner mirrors. The seduction of comfort returns, sweet as lotus petals, and many fall asleep here, forgetting the hunger that first called them. But those who remember, they keep walking, even barefoot, on thorned paths, even without a map. They follow something older than logic, the pull of myth, the magnetism of soul. Along the way, you meet archetypes, not as figures in books, but as living forces within and around you. The trickster dances in your self-sabotage. The threshold guardian wears the face of bureaucracy or heartbreak. The wise old man or woman speaks through a stranger's words or a page you almost skipped. These are not coincidences. They are the choreography of the soul's education. You are no longer merely living a story, you are remembering it. Do you recall Prometheus bound to the rock? His liver devoured day after day. He is not punished for theft, but for bringing light to mortals. Every time you try to bring fire to your own darkness, your conditioning returns like the eagle to peck at your wound. But like Prometheus, you endure The hero must endure, and it is here in the crucible of pain that the second death occurs. Not the death of the ego you knew, but the death of control. You cannot slay the dragon with will alone. You must surrender. You must merge. In Hindu mythology, Kali does not come to be worshipped from afar. She comes to destroy your illusions with ferocious love. To meet her is to dissolve in her gaze. That is your task now, to allow what you thought you could not bear, and discover that you are far larger than the pain. When the Tibetan monk enters the charnel ground to meditate among bones and decay, he does not seek horror, but freedom. To befriend death is to awaken to life. And this, too, is part of the myth for the final illusion to shatter is the fear of impermanence. You begin to see that nothing has truly been lost. The lovers, the dreams, the innocence, none of it vanished. All of it was transmuted. As Rumi whispered, don't grieve. Anything you lose comes round in another form. So you enter the sacred fire willingly now, not to burn, but to forge. Your soul becomes a blade tempered by paradox, strength and softness, grief and grace, wildness and wisdom. And then comes the moment myths rarely explain, because it is ineffable, the sacred marriage, the union of opposites within you, the masculine and feminine, sun and moon, chaos and order. The hero and the shadow do not merely coexist, they merge. You become not better, but whole, and it is in this wholeness that the treasure is revealed. Not gold, not power, but sight, the ability to see through the world and into it. You look upon another's face and recognize your own longing. You feel the earth and know it breathes with you. You listen to the wind and hear your ancestors. Now, the return beckons, but returning is harder than leaving. The world has not changed, but you have. And so you must bear the sacred burden to walk among those still dreaming, carrying a truth they may not yet want. You will be mocked. The prophet always is. You will be doubted. The alchemist always is. You will be tempted to retreat into silence. But you will not, because the final stage of the hero's journey is not glory, it is service. You return to mend the fabric of the world. You bring medicine to the tribe. You tell stories that awaken what was forgotten. You teach not by preaching, but by being, the lie is gone now. Or rather, it is seen for what it is, a necessary veil that led you to the unveiling and the myth. It is no longer something you read. It is something you embody. The world greets you with silence, not applause, because when you return with the elixir, it is not the same world that once rejected you. It is the world still asleep. And the hardest truth to bear is this: you cannot awaken another before their time. You can only shine and trust that your light will reach the corners where darkness pretends to be peace. You walk among them as both familiar and foreign. Your laughter rings truer. Your tears are deeper. And when you speak, something in the air shifts, not because your words are wise, but because they carry weight, the weight of the underworld, the scent of the cave, the memory of the bonfire you danced around with your soul in ashen flame. You know now that the real dragons were never outside. They wore your face. They grew in the places you avoided. But now, You no longer slay them. You ride them. You harness the force of what once terrified you and channel it into healing, into truth, into art, into silence that trembles with meaning. Look to the shamans of old. They limped because their initiation broke their bones. They stammered because the gods thundered too loudly in their ears. But when they sang, the sky bent to listen. You are like them now, marked not by titles, but by vision, and you begin to see through the illusions that shape the collective myth. You see that society praises masks more than faces. It rewards repetition over originality. It crowns those who serve the machine and silences those who serve the soul, but you no longer seek their crown. You wear your own, forged in fire, polished in grief, hidden in plain sight. Every time you speak your truth, the world splits a little wider to let in the sacred. Every time you love someone in their rawness, not despite their scars, but because of them, you undo the myth of shame. Every time you tell a story that remembers the earth, the ancestors lean in, and yet you remain humble. Because the final trial is pride, the temptation to become the guru, the savior, the master. But myth warns against this. Think of Icarus. Think of Lucifer, the one who climbs too high in self-glory, falls by the weight of forgotten humility. So you bow to the moon that guided you through madness, to the storm that cracked your false identity, to the friend who left, the stranger who smiled, the enemy who revealed your limits. You bow to the parts of yourself you once disowned, because now you understand the journey was never about becoming someone else. It was about becoming who you already are. Beneath the noise, beneath the lie, beneath the dream, you were sold. The myth is fulfilled not in grand gestures, but in integration. You hug your inner child, and the tyrant within lays down his sword. You offer compassion to your addict, and the thief within returns what he stole. You embrace the feminine in your rage, and the masculine in your tenderness, and the dance of your own becoming continues, spiraling outward into every relationship, every choice, every breath. You are no longer running from the forest. You are planting trees. You are no longer avoiding the cave. You are inviting others to enter. And when they ask, "Who are you to guide me?" you smile. You say, "I am no one, just a fellow traveler who forgot for a while, like you, until I remembered." And in that remembering, the sacred myth breathes again. Now, the path becomes invisible. You walk not upon roads, but through the hearts of others. You become the story whispered by firelight, the legend passed down through the blood memory of grandmothers, the hush that falls when a child looks into the stars and wonders where they came from. For the final gift of the journey is not truth, but presence. And presence is the most ancient magic. You no longer speak to be heard. You speak to remember. Each word is a breadcrumb for those still wandering. Each silence is a temple where the soul can rest. You begin to see that every face is a mask, and behind each mask, a flickering flame, longing to become a sun. You bow to that flame in all things, the trembling leaf, the beggar's hand, the old song, rising from the bones of a forgotten language, and then something unexpected. You realize that you were never alone. The hero's journey was not yours alone to walk. Others walk beside you, behind you, ahead of you, sometimes unseen, sometimes in forms strange and familiar. They are the others who dared, the others who wept and wandered and descended, the others who returned. You see, the brotherhood of fire, the sisterhood of ash and star, those who carry the seed of myth in their marrow, those who speak not of destiny, but of offering, not of mastery, but of service. You find them in poets who bleed ink and silence. You find them in farmers whose hands are wiser than books. You find them in midwives, in warriors, in dancers who move like forgotten gods. And you no longer ask what your purpose is, because you are the purpose. The myth now breathes through your bones. You become the forest path for another's feet. You become the torch in the dream of one still lost in fog. You become the question that breaks someone's numbness. And you become the mother that myth spoke of, the one who births light, not from her womb, but from her wounds. And one day, when your body is dust and your name and ripple in forgotten time, your story will live on, not in books, but in the way someone dares to choose truth over comfort, in the way a child faces the dark and finds wonder instead of fear, in the way someone kneels, not in defeat, but in surrender. You were never meant to be immortal in flesh. You were always meant to be eternal in symbol. That is the true resurrection. The myth lives in you, and through you, and beyond you. And when you close your eyes for the last time, you will not ask if your life had meaning. You will know, because you dared to see the lie. You dared to walk into the storm. You dared to let the fire remake you. And in doing so, you became more than the hero. You became the myth